This is Hot Mike.
Hot Mike.
On the networks of WDAY.
WDAY.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back. Hot Mike rolls on this morning. Fun as we get ready for the holiday weekend coming up. You know, of course, a lot of the attention this week has gone to Division I athletics and the news that has broke out over this last week, or schools opting in, opting out, that has dominated the conversation in the Division I world of college athletics. But wanted to turn our attention over to some other things happening in college sports here in North Dakota. And the big news that happened earlier this week, of course, is the University of Jamestown officially becoming a member of the NSIC and a member of the Division II. So here to tell us all about it and give us the breakdown is Austin Hieb, the athletic director at the University of Jamestown. Austin, thanks for taking some time today and joining us. Give us your reaction to that when we say the University of Jamestown is in the NSIC in Division II. What's your reaction to that?
Well, first of all, Sam, thank you for setting this up. Appreciate it. Happy to always talk about the Jimmies. Reaction is it's exciting, but it feels like something we've been talking about for so long. It's been, a couple years in the making here. So it's really nice to finally, all right, it's all systems go here. We're ready to go and on the league schedule and ready to rock and roll.
For those that haven't followed along with this, can you give us the breakdown of what this process has been like? Because this isn't something that just popped up last week. This is something that's been years in the making.
Yeah, I mean, you could say it started before I ever even got here back in the spring of 22. That was when we kind of started. That was when Upper Iowa had made their announcement that they were leaving the NSIC, and it just so happened it coincided with me starting here at the University of Jamestown, and it was just something that our leadership and administrative team thought it was something we should look into and kind of do a study on it. But to go back even further, before my time, the advancements that were made in facilities, scholarships, staffing, this started long ago, and it really set us up for when Upper Iowa did leave. It did set us up to be able to take a real look at it and say, all right, we think this is at least worth a look. And we did our due diligence. We hired a consultant. We went through the feasibility studies and all the different things that will have to change in the NCAA, different staffing, addressing some other needs here and there inside the department. And we decided, let's do it. And we went. I appreciate the leadership here. I appreciate our coaching staff when we did this. We're obviously a lot of conversations were had, some positives, possible drawbacks, and when we decided we were doing it, everybody was full steam ahead. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of work, but we've got a lot of people here who have made it as seamless as possible.
Expand on that a little bit. The reaction that you have gotten so far from coaches, athletes, even fans, and those that care about the University of Jamestown, has it been pretty positive as you move forward through this process?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially on the alumni and supporter train. There have been a lot of people, and you always wonder with something like this, right? What's the reaction going to be? And it's been overwhelmingly positive. I think a lot of people recognize that the NSIC is made up of a lot of schools that traditionally we have competed against over the course of our history. So some of our alums who, played 20, 30 years ago, they're used to already competing against those schools. It's just in a different conference now. Yeah. So that's been really positive. Our coaching staff, I'm really happy with our coaching staff. We've got a lot of really quality coaches in our department, and they've been good. They've been asking a lot of questions, which is what we want, which is what our compliance administrator wants, all the new rules. And we're all, like I said, we're all kind of rowing the boat in the same direction. It's kind of one of those deals when the decision got made, everybody said, all right, this is what we're doing, let's do it. And it's been overwhelmingly positive throughout.
So the process for this usually takes about 3 years to get done, to make the jump. You guys are on the expedited route for this. As we start the month of July, where are we at in this process to full bore go Division II?
So yeah, we're in the expedited process. We just finished year one. Mm-hmm. So the expedited process is a 2-year process. We just finished year one. We have a call with the NCAA here next week, and they let us know if we get to move forward into year 2 of the 2-year process. All signs are positive. We've gotten the feedback's been good from the NCAA, from our consultant, from the person they sent here for a site visit. So we never put the cart ahead of the horse, right? But we do feel good about it. And if we get that go ahead, then there are a couple other things that we have to do this year in year 2 of the expedited process to make sure that we're on the right track. But it would be next July. We'll have a similar call, and if everything goes well, they'll say, "You're all the way in. Let's go." So,
and let's just play devil's advocate here. Hypothetically, if they come back and say, "Well, not quite yet," then what happens from there?
I don't want to. No, I'm kidding. No, it's what they do is they would move us into the 3-year process.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
we would go from the expedited back to the original 3-year process. We would just go into year 2 of a 3-year process, but I really hope we don't have to cross that bridge, Sam.
Well, exactly. Hoping for the best, and if all signs point to things are looking good, we'll keep it at that. As you guys have gone throughout this over the last couple of years here, what challenges have you noticed that the University of Jamestown has seen going through this that you may not have expected?
We kind of expected most of it. Yeah. I'll tell you, we hired. Every time we tell people who we hired as our consultants, they all everybody exhales like, "Oh, you hired a good one." So we got the best to help us do it. I'll tell you, we did a lot of work on the front end. I talked to some athletic directors at some institutions that transitioned from NAIA to D2, and they're still there now. And I just kind of I picked their brain. I probably talked to 3 or so of them, 15 minutes, just kind of, hey, what was it like? Are you happy you did it? Every one of them was very happy they did it. And all of them said their biggest thing that they weren't as ready for as they thought they were was how much more travel is going to cost them. Right. Which for us it kind of made me chuckle because it's less travel for us compared to the GPAC. When we were in the GPAC, obviously the North Star it's pretty similar, but coming from the GPAC, I kind of laughed. I was like, well, we're going to spend hopefully less nights in hotels and less nights on the road, and it'll actually work out pretty well for us. But no, I tell everybody the hardest part about this is just not knowing what you don't know. We've like I said, we've tried to do everything right, and for the most part, I feel like we have. But it's just making sure you don't turn the corner one day and go, oh no, we forgot about that. Yeah. And thankfully, we haven't had many, if any of those. The ones we've had have been small, and we've been able to remedy them pretty quickly. But just the compliance piece is another aspect of it, and that kind of goes hand in hand with not knowing what you don't know. So we've been doing our homework. We're reading a lot, doing a lot of rules application type stuff. But no, it's we did quite a bit of work on the front end. I feel like we were pretty prepared.
Well, tell me about going into the NSIC. Of course, a lot of people in this area are familiar with this conference at the Division II level. You got UMary and Bismarck. Minot State is up in the northern part of the state here. MSUM's on the other side of the river. If I'm not mistaken, you're a Northern State guy. I'm a St. Cloud State guy. The NSIC is pretty prominent. What excites you about entering this conference?
It's a great league. Mm-hmm. And I tell everybody that when they say, oh, what's it going to be like? It's like, hey, I'm not ignorant. I'm well aware of how good of a league this is. Yeah. And I think it's one of those deals where you want to be, that's where you want to be though, right? It's not something that's not going to take time, and it's going to be a process, and we're going to have to build and just continue to, get better in different areas, address, there are things that we're not going to know till we're in the league that we need to prioritize. Mm-hmm. Like I said, we're trying to do a lot of that legwork on the front end, but just anything. It's like starting a new job, right? You're there it feels like it takes almost a full 365 before you feel comfortable and you know exactly what's happening when it's happening. But we're really, really excited. And I know I keep saying that, but it feels like it's been a couple of years now. We're going into the NSIC, and then now it's happening. And yeah, I'm, like I said, well aware of how great of a league it is, and happy to be a part of it, and want to come in as a strong member and someone that represents the conference well.
I think for someone that's on the outside of this looking in and sees a school and an athletic department that's moving from NAIA to Division II, the questions are going to roam out there about, well, how competitive can the University of Jamestown be in right away? And I was speaking with Jared Lentz about this too, and he says, "Well, we know we got to be on our A game right away," but then I see a prime example of the basketball team and what they did last season, playing a predominantly Division II schedule and being successful. Is the competitiveness something that you guys are, I wouldn't say worried about, but interested to see how that's go, even though you guys have fantastic athletic programs over there?
I'm kidding. No one's talked about competitiveness at all. Yeah. No, I think it's like anything. Yeah. I mean, we've competed against a lot of these schools, like you mentioned, in non-conference play. I feel like we're in a good spot with a lot of our programs, and there are all of them. I mean, we were always trying to get better, and I think that there'll be sports where we're going to come in right away and hold our own very well. We'll be very competitive, and there'll be others that, hey, we're going to have to take some time. And some of those sports were probably sports we were going to have to, take some time, regardless of whether we were transitioning to Division II or not. I mean, every athletic department has ups and downs throughout their department and programs. Sometimes it's, you get coaching changes and roster turnover and things like that. So I think there'll be some where we step in and, like I said, hold our own right away. And there'll be others where, yeah, hey, it's gonna take us a couple of years to get the landscape and to get the roster where we want it to. But long term, I feel like we should be in a good spot.
That's good to hear. That's really good to hear. I got to ask you, whenever you're speaking about the University of Jamestown, for the longest time, Valley City State was in the same sentence there, and of course that rivalry was so prominent and important for a long time. Now that that's kind of no longer in the picture, are you hoping rivalries bud with Mary, Minot State, MSUM, the closer schools that are in the conference?
Absolutely. And that was one of there were a lot of factors that went into it, but playing those games geographically is a huge plus for us. It's good for our alums. It's good. I mean, our supporters can go watch us on the road. We anticipate having good road crowds at our games. We just think it'll be a better environment when we have people who know who the University of Mary is. They know who Minot State is. They know who Northern is. Minnesota State Moorhead. They know all those schools. When we play Doane, it's kind of like, who's Doane?
Yeah.
I don't know anyone. Nothing. Just picked them out of the hat. I'm not saying anything about them, but geographically speaking, we don't have a lot of knowledge of the schools that we've been playing recently. Right. So bringing that knowledge back and getting to be playing in Minnesota, where we have a lot of alums and a lot of a fair amount of our recruits come from, the exposure in Minnesota, where we'll get to really engage some more of our alumni and supporters on the road. We're really, really excited about that part as well.
I want to ask you about the near future coming up here as well. Can you explain the postseason play coming up in this upcoming year? What does that look like for the University of Jamestown?
So we won't be nationally postseason eligible in anything.
Mm-hmm.
And the simplest way to put it is we aren't eligible for the conference tournament in team sports. There are a couple that are a little bit, but generally speaking, individual sports will be allowed to compete in the conference championships. Team sports, we will not be allowed to compete. We can still win regular season awards. We can win regular season championships, but in those team sports, we won't be allowed to compete in the conference postseason. And then nothing gets to compete in the national postseason. And then the following year, we're all the way good to go.
There we go. Good to hear. Okay, so we'll see how that all shakes out. We've been seeing that with St. Thomas and the Summit League as well over the last couple of years here too. You mentioned recruiting. A couple more before we let you go here. You mentioned recruiting. What have you noticed? Has that changed ever since this news started to bubble up here?
Absolutely. 100%. When you put the right, wrong, or otherwise, when you put the NCAA blue dot next to your school name, mm-hmm. you have more interest. And it's kind of crazy how it works. I tell people it's a double-edged sword, right? You have access to better recruits. You're able to get into schools. You're able to get in the door with kids that want to play, student athletes that want to play Division II athletics. At the same time, you also need a higher caliber kid to compete. So it works both ways. But no, it's our coaches from the jump saw that. Our coaches right away saw that. Yeah, it kind of gives you a little more credibility with the student athletes.
For the athletes that are there right now that have been competing in this NAIA level, and now they're going to make the jump to Division II, do you get the sense of there's some nerves in that, or there's excitement, we're ready to go, we want to face this tougher competition?
I think it's honestly mostly excitement.
Yeah.
We've got student athletes that are competitors here, and they want to do it. They think it seems like a great challenge. And to be fair, we're usually recruiting the Division II athlete. I
Mhm.
mean, even
Yeah.
even when we're playing in the NAI, we were trying to get the Division II athlete. In a lot of cases, we've got plenty of student athletes that have come through here who are Division II caliber student athletes. So I think now we just have a better chance of getting more of them. Right? It's we were already getting some of them. Now it's just access to more of them, and hopefully they start flocking.
I want you to look into the crystal ball here for a second. Look into the future, 5, 10 years, whatever it may be, and think back. What has to happen in this transition to get to that point and be like, yes, this was a successful move for us?
I think we have. It's so cliche to just
Mhm.
say keep getting better, but honestly, I think we have to. We've got people here who are completely invested in the University of Jamestown. It's why I love being here. It starts all the way at the top with our president down to our coaches and our student athletes. We're not just, like I said. It sounds like people say this about everywhere, but people really truly care about this place. Our donors, our supporters, our administration, everyone who works here. So I think when we have, that's what makes me feel so good about this. And like I said, it's going to be work, but I know that we've got people who are going to do the things that need to get done in order for us to be successful. And I think we keep kind of just striving to get that little bit better every year. We continue to, like I said, once you get into the conference and you get into Division II, you start to realize what you might need to prioritize in each sport, and you start figuring out how to accomplish those things. So I think the people here really make me feel. I think it makes a lot of us feel. I don't want to say at ease, because there's definitely still nerves, and there's a little bit. The unknown is always scary, but I know we've got the people in place that are going to help get it done.
Austin, I appreciate you taking time and helping us out here with this, and looking forward to seeing what the University of Jamestown could do in the NSIC. I know things are only going to ramp up more for you, so best of luck with everything, and best of luck moving forward.
Appreciate it, Sam. Thanks for having me, and have a great fourth.
Yeah, you too. Absolutely. There it is. The University of Jamestown now in the NSIC, moving up to the Division II level. Exciting stuff. We'll break it down a little bit more when we come back this morning on Hot Mic. That's coming up next. Be sure to stick around.